Morning. It is 10 a.m. Central Time, so I would like to go ahead and get started with this webinar. Good morning. I hope that everyone's having a good day so far, and appreciate everyone's time for sitting in on this webinar. I am Hideyuki Terashima, and I am an environmental geologist with the Illinois State Water Survey, which is located at the University of Illinois. I've been part of the wateroperator.org program since 2014 and currently oversee the day-to-day, which involves ensuring the most up-to-date information and resources for operators are showcased within our website, and occasionally hosting these webinars sharing relevant, useful information, which might help wastewater operators with their operations and help their utilities. During this presentation, I'll be introducing to you what exactly the wateroperator.org program is, how it's a useful program or website that aims to help water and wastewater operators or professionals that works within the industry around the country to help them maintain compliance and help them enhance public health, while focusing on a topic for today, which is going to be on energy optimization and cost saving strategies at wastewater utilities. Before I start, I wanted to quickly go over some housekeeping stuff. This webinar will be presented on the GoToWebinar platform. For those that have not used GoToWebinar before, you should see a console similar to what I've shown on this slide. I believe this is like the mobile screenshot, but if you look at your top right side of your GoToWebinar platform, you should see those some of those icons. One of them should be like the text box with a question mark. That is somewhere where you can ask questions throughout the webinar. Please don't hesitate and feel free to enter questions uh, throughout, and we'll review them at the end. This webinar will also be recorded and will be uploaded to our wateroperator.org YouTube channel once the webinar is over. So if there are some information that you might have missed, don't worry, we'll have this uploaded. And if you'd like to request this presentation, feel free to email me and I'll be more than happy to send you a copy of this presentation. I did also want to mention that this webinar has been pre-approved for 1.5 wastewater hours for Illinois wastewater operators, as well as Indiana licensed operators. The ID or the approval number is on this slide, but again, we're more than happy to offer you a certificate once this, or will help you with getting that forms or certificate forms completed once the webinar is over. And for those of you that are outside of Illinois, Indiana, if you'd like any help with getting this by attending this, getting those hours approved, we're more than happy to again issue a certificate and help you complete some of those paperwork that your state privacy agency might require. But I believe whenever you registered, it asks you if you would like a certificate. If you did not indicate that you wanted a certificate at the end of this webinar, please email us at info@wateroperator.org. Please put in the header which webinar you attended. For this one, it'll be something like energy management or energy conservation, energy efficiency, and we'll be able to offer you a certificate. We will, however, not be able to offer a certificate for watching the recording once the webinar has been uploaded. All right, so this will be the outline for today's presentation. I'll start off by introducing to you what exactly wateropera.org is, or what kind of website this, what exactly the wateropera.org website is, while outlining the types of resources or tools that operators could find uh, through the features on our website, um, on, on how you could find information to better your water and wastewater management. I've given similar presentations in the past, but we've always focused on a specific area of asset management or utility management. So today, our focus is going to be on energy optimization, or ways wastewater utilities can improve energy management and efficiency at their treatment plants. So we'll begin by reviewing some of the energy-related challenges many utilities might be experiencing right now, like how to optimize energy-intensive processes, how do you manage rising energy costs, and how do you balance operational reliability with compliance and sustainability goals in mind. From there, we'll look at some of the practical strategies utilities can implement to better understand and manage their energy use. How do you identify those inefficiencies with your equipment? How do you prioritize which energy efficiency improvement projects that you might want to do first, and how to deliver those meaningful savings to your customers. I'll then highlight public available tools and resources designed to support those energy efficiency efforts, and then walk you through how to locate similar information or resources through our wateropera.org website. so that later on you can explore other resources as well as potentially help share the information with your other operators within your facility. I'll then wrap up by introducing the additional features that you can find on our website, like our newsletters, blog posts, some of our self-paced free training classes that offer CEUs. Um, so hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll know what kind of energy efficiencies tools and resources are readily out there for operators, how to find similar information, and being able to find the information yourself to be able to learn more and better improve how you manage your utility. So, what exactly is wateroperator.org? As you can tell, it is a website which we developed at the University of Illinois in collaboration with the Rural Community Assistant Partnership, RCAP, which is a technical assistant provider, with funding from the US EPA. It basically serves as a clearinghouse of publicly available resources to help water and wastewater system operators with a focus on small systems. We basically have a team of staff that scour the internet to find and collect various publicly available information and resources that are useful to operators and provide a means to search and access that information easier through our website. So rather than having to sift through multiple pages of search results on Google, we made a platform to search for relevant resources easier to save you time. Also, you might find a useful resource through Google, but if you try to access it, you might find out that it's actually behind a paywall or it requires a membership to access that information. All the resources from bigger organizations like AWWA or WEF are kind of like this. All of them do require money or it has a fee to be able to access, or you might have to submit some information to access. Everything you can find on our website is publicly available information, and there's no fee or registration required to use our website. Additionally, if operators do have trouble finding certain information, they can always call us or email us, and we do have a team of staff that will help you try to find that specific information that you're looking for. We do get a lot of requests from those planning for certification exams, asking, "Hey, can you help me find study guide material?" We've had multiple people with that. If you have a little bit more technical, need a little bit more technical information, like how to maybe optimize a certain component within your treatment facility, we might not have the information for that. We could help you find the information for that, but we do have partners, RCAP partners, that have experience working at facilities that will be able to help you out and will be able to connect you with those professionals. So if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us. So for the resources that we feature on our website, what do we exactly look for and how do we find them? We currently have a database of probably over 900 or 1,000 organizations. These are national organizations like EPA, AWWA, WEF, as well as individual state agencies, regional associations, and even vendors. Each of our staff basically visits their website routinely and look for any kind of new information on events like operator trainings, webinars, conferences, pretty much any event that offers CUs or continuing education credits for operators, we track that information. And if they don't offer credits, even if they don't offer credits, like a lot of EPA webinars, they tend to be free, but they're very informative. We do highlight a lot of those free training opportunities as well. We do also look for any kind of publicly accessible resource like fact sheets, reports, manuals, white papers, case studies, even past conference presentations um, or webinar recordings. Any kind of, again, technical resource that can be helpful for operators, especially focusing on small system operators. We do try to find that, catalog it, and make it easier to search it through our website. We've been doing this since 2009, and we currently have a library of over 15,000 documents that we've cataloged. And we do add about 12,000 training events, operator-focused training events every year. So, if you're looking for training opportunities, our calendar tool is great, and we do have a wealth of open access water and wastewater focused resources on our resource library page. Our website was actually first called smallwatersupply.org. If you've been in the industry for a long time, you might have heard our name before we changed to wateroperator.org, but we rebranded around 2016. We originally developed this website with the goal to help operators in rural communities where they may not have had the time to search for some of these technical resources, and especially back then, their facility might not have had the internet infrastructure to be able to download large PDF files or even video files like webinar recordings. So we wanted to give them a platform where operators can search for resources, get a general idea of what the resource is about, how it would be helpful for operators before they can actually commit to finding that accessing that information. And we've been continuing the same model since, and we've just been growing our resource library. So we do have a lot of great information on there. So after we collect those resources, we do display the information through our website modules. So we have a calendar and a library tool on our website. Our nationwide calendar tool is meant to help operators, again, save time from having to search through numerous organizations or training providers' website and find all the relevant events on a single calendar. They're not our events, they're events, training events happening around the country. We just aggregate the information and list it on a single calendar. So if you're an operator in Texas where there's, a lot of training providers, you can just put in Texas as a state in our calendar, and it'll filter just to show Texas approved training opportunities, again, that offer CEUs for Texas licensed operators. We also do the same for the document side, where again we do look for any kind of fact sheet, newsletter, anything that's useful for operators. Provide a summary of it, and again make it searchable through our resource library tool. In the past, we've heard from many operators that they found the national or nationwide event calendar tool to be, a very useful tool to help find events that they never knew existed. And we've gotten calls from and emails from operators saying like, "Hey, I need to get X number of credit hours by the end of the month. Can you help me find some online courses I can take from my office?" And we've usually helped them guide through how to use our website and how to search for their specific type of trainings that they might be looking for. I forgot to mention, for any resource that we do catalog, we always make sure to link you back to the host organization. We're not trying to take credit of their work. We're just trying to guide you to um, the host organization that might have developed a useful resource. And yeah, we're just trying to be the middleman here. We're just trying to link you to those resources out there. We've actually even had a lot of vendors reach out to us asking, to have some of their events featured, and we always make sure if you want an event added to our calendar, please make sure to get it pre-approved for credits. And a lot of vendors they don't go through this process, but we do have several within in-state vendors that have gone through the process to get some of their webinars approved by IEPA. So great for them. We do love featuring those kind of opportunities where organizations that are more committed to helping out operators. As I mentioned earlier, we do deal with a wide range of topics, and every resource we do add is tagged with a specific category, which gets integrated into our search engine for our resource library and calendar tool. Here is the list of the categories or filters that we use for training events, just to give you an idea of what kind of standard filters or category topics that you can filter just by. So a lot of these terms are more common terms like O&M, water, wastewater treatment, asset utility, financial management, disinfection, and sanitary sewers. So just some of the biosolids, more common water and wastewater related categories. But again, it just gives you, this is a breakdown, or I did want to add a graph on this slide. So the pie chart on this slide shows like the breakdown of the number the breakdown of the training events we added during 2024. So out of the around 12,000 events that we added in 2024, around 30% of them, or close to 27.7%, was related to O&M, and then the breakdown of the rest. So there are a lot of topics that we do see less events on, like I guess for the wastewater side, maybe water reuse or stormwater, maybe even nutrient control, but we do see a lot of training opportunities on asset utility financial management, which is related to capacity development and tend to include energy efficiency stuff. So if you're looking for energy efficiency related trainings, I do recommend using some of these more using categories that have higher event counts of or resource counts of. So just wanted to highlight some of those categories, and I will reference this later whenever I give a demo of our website as well. So during this presentation, I'll be highlighting a variety of publicly available resources or publicly accessible resources designed to help wastewater utilities with, again, energy efficiency planning and project implementation as a main focus. These materials do focus on practical hands-on approaches, so, like how do you go about conducting an energy benchmarking or auditing energy use, as well as how do you go about improving process efficiency, how do you identify cost-effective upgrades, and how do you evaluate the impacts of some of those energy optimization strategies that a facility might have implemented. We'll review a mix of resource types. So, we'll look at shorter resources like fact sheets, to any even a couple hundred page best practice guides or manuals. We'll also touch on webinar recordings for those of you that are more video centric learners. We do highlight case studies as well for if you're looking for actual uh, real world case studies of energy optimization projects. And we do highlight reports as well, highlighting some of those findings that have been built by experts in the field or from reputable or credible organizations. We'll also look at how do you search for energy-related training opportunities that again offer CUs, which can be beneficial for operators out there if they're trying to maintain their license or trying to stay up to date with current best practices. All these materials that I'll be highlighting, they do come from trusted and credible organizations. You'll see many resources from EPA as well as DOE programs or Department of Energy programs, as well as state agencies from state agencies and national associations like the Environmental Finance Center Network, EFCN, other energy-focused organizations like CDAC or the Energy Sense Resilience Center, which is at the University of Illinois, and New York State Energy Resource Development Authority also have published great guidance resources, as well as tools and case studies that support energy optimization efforts. So together, these organizations have provided or continues to provide a wealth of publicly accessible information that utilities can use to strengthen their energy efficiency program, as well as plan for long-term sustainability. And hopefully, by highlighting those, it will give you a general idea of what type of information is readily available out there. So the reason I chose energy efficiency as our focus today is because like I mentioned a little bit earlier, we are seeing a lot more news articles like the ones showcased on this slide, like the one on the left, which highlights how rising energy rates are contributing to higher water and sewer bills across the country. Energy is one of the larger, or I guess the largest cost for wastewater utilities or for day-to-day operations. So spikes in electricity prices or electricity rates, energy rates can have a direct impact on budgets as well as customer rates. Energy optimization isn't a new concept, however. There are plenty of effective energy efficiency strategies that utilities can implement to reduce energy consumption, whether that's again by process efficiency or upgrading existing equipment, or even renewable opportunities like on-site generation of biogas or biogas recovery to help offset energy costs. Of course, many of these projects do come with high upfront costs and might not be accessible to smaller systems, but a lot of past project and case studies have consistently shown um, strong long-term benefits of these types of projects. So hopefully I can highlight some of those as well. The Water Online article on the slide is a good example of how we're continuing to see these articles highlighting wastewater utilities that have implemented some of these energy efficiency projects. There's also always new funding opportunities to help utilities out there with these efforts. As mentioned on the bottom right article, which outlines Illinois EPA's funding opportunity to help wastewater utilities implement solar energy, as well as battery storage to improve resiliency. Um, there are a lot of these types of funding opportunities out there to help fund energy optimization projects. So again, I'll try to highlight some of those programs, but definitely I would recommend checking out what kind of newer funding opportunities are currently out there to help support these types of energy efficiency projects you might be considering. So to start off, I wanted to briefly provide some basic information on energy-related challenges that have been reported by wastewater utilities. Maybe some of these might resonate with you, but just wanted to give a general overview of some of these, what the challenges wastewater utilities might be facing um, that might prohibit them from implementing some of these energy efficiency projects. So first, as I mentioned, wastewater treatment itself is a extremely energy intensive process. In a lot of communities, wastewater utilities are usually the largest municipal energy user. And like processes like aeration alone can account for nearly half or even up to 60% of a plant's total electricity bill. So even small inefficiencies in these crucial processes can result in major energy costs. So definitely want to optimize that equipment usage to optimize energy. Second, many facilities are often operating with aging infrastructure, aging equipment that simply wasn't really designed for modern efficiency in mind. A lot of older systems might have oversized or outdated blowers, pumps, and even motors that tend to run, way below optimal performance. So without technologies or additions of variable frequency drives or VFDs, or updated automated controls. Um, Wastewater plants can end up using a lot more energy than necessary, and poor maintenance only worsens this effects. And if you don't address clogged diffusers, for example, that can impact oxygen transfer rates, which can force blowers to work harder, driving up energy costs. Another challenge is increasing regulatory pressure. So, new federal standards for contaminants like PFAS, microplastics, often require a little bit more energy into filtration systems, or just overall additional equipment or treatment process needed to be added, as well as stricter nitrogen and phosphorus limits can require longer process times, or through aeration cycles and more pumping. So compliance with these upcoming newer or stricter regulations can have an operational impact on a system, adding more complexity, or requiring systems to run a little bit harder to attain those lower nutrient limits. So another thing to keep in track of what the current landscape is for changing regulations. Another key challenge for many utilities is a lack of detailed energy data and benchmarking. So, many facilities, especially smaller facilities, they might not have power monitoring equipment like SCADA trending, needed to track higher energy uses or higher energy processes, or identify equipment that might be operating inefficiently. Most plants only see the total electric bill at the end of the month. So, without individual equipment meters or SCADA history, calculating some of those crucial energy metrics like kilowatt hour per million gallons treated can be difficult to get or has to be estimated, which make it even more difficult to identify which processes might actually be driving energy costs. So, like figuring out which pumps is failing, or which blower is being, using up a lot more energy than rated for, without having that detailed energy use data, it might be harder to identify which of those equipment is the culprit. And even when plants do try to benchmark, results can vary widely depending on plant size, treatment type, wastewater influent characteristics, which really makes it difficult to know, what a good performance for a facility looks like, because again, not all facilities are the same. Everyone's a little bit different, so benchmarking can be a little bit difficult in that sense. The other major challenge is financial and resource limitations. So, a lot of smaller rural utilities, they don't have the budget to do audits. They might not be able to afford SCADA upgrades, or higher efficiency, energy efficient, or higher energy efficient projects. So it's definitely more important to be able to, for those utilities, to find more low cost, no cost strategies that would still improve energy efficiency. So all these challenges make it really hard for utilities to, identify those energy saving opportunities and to act on them. So hopefully the information and resources covered today will again give the operators in the audience some of the tools needed to start planning for energy efficiency. So what exactly is energy management, and what are the benefits of an energy management plan? It might be pretty obvious, but I just wanted to quickly go over this. There are several energy management frameworks that have been developed by various organizations. These are like those step-by-step frameworks that utilities can follow. Um, it's a systematic approach to basically monitoring, controlling, and optimizing how energy is used, throughout a facility. This effort, or the energy management effort, does directly relate to asset management and process control, because when operators do understand how their equipment performs and how much energy they're using up, it can help make more informed decisions about how to reduce, or how to make processes more efficient and to try and reduce energy use. So a few of these frameworks are highlighted in EPA's Energy Star guidance and the DOE's ISO 50001 Ready program, that outline how to build a structured step-by-step energy management plan. The diagram on the bottom shows a plan do check act cycle, which a lot of these management frameworks are usually modeled after. This one's the basic four-step process, which is designed to encourage continuous improvements of some of those energy efficiency projects you might be implementing. So what are the benefits of starting an energy management program? Well, utilities can reduce O&M costs. Having an energy management program can extend the lifespan of some of your equipment like blowers, pumps, and motors by optimizing them. It helps improve process stability and overall treatment performance. And I'm sure there are other benefits as well. But better energy management also supports lower greenhouse gas emissions, which again is increasingly important for a lot more for a lot of communities these days, as well as municipalities that are aiming more for long-term sustainability. And finally, having a formal energy management program does open up doors to state and federal grants, rebates, as well as other utility incentives. So it's energy management isn't just about saving total energy. It's about making sure your plant is improving performance, ensuring continuous energy efficiency updates, as well as making sure you're using these benefits to further improve your plants by applying for more funding to help improve your plant's efficiency. So what are some of the steps or um, the frameworks utilities can follow to start improving their energy efficiency? I know I mentioned that four-step the plan do act diagram earlier, but a lot of the EPA and DOE plans go beyond this, and they're a lot more 7 to 8 step processes. So this is on this slide I have a 7 step process or 7 step process that outlines how to go about starting an energy management program. And again, this is from information gathered from EPA DOE, so this is some of their recommended practices as well. So the first step is to establish an energy baseline. This step is basically identifying what the system's total energy use and breaking it down into major processes. This helps identify, where and how much energy is being used throughout the system. The second step is to then benchmark the system performance. So benchmarking allows utilities to compare their facilities' energy use against industry standards or similar size systems, giving you a general idea of what your energy use looks like. Maybe it might be lower, maybe it might be significantly higher than similar size systems, which can be a red flag of, you might have to do something. The third step is conducting an energy audit. So this is where utilities go through the process of identifying those high energy use equipment and processes and identify energy conservation measures that might improve energy efficiency. These again can be low cost or no cost operational adjustments, or they could be larger multi-year capital projects. Once these measures are identified, the next step is to identify and prioritize which projects to do. Not every improvement has to be expensive. Not every project needs to happen at once. Prioritizing based on return on investment and ease of implementation can help utilities go through this process a little bit more stress-free. Step 5 is implementing operational and equipment improvements. This could include, optimizing process control or again upgrading some of those energy-intensive equipment with more efficient state model. Um, and depending on what the audit or benchmarking might highlight, you might want to prioritize upgrading those equipment first. Step 6 is tracking and measuring performance. So using simple tracking dashboards or KPIs, key performance indicators, can help operators visualize whether improvements are resulting in expected energy savings. And the final step is to review and update the energy management plan. Energy efficiency is usually an ongoing process. Again, it's not a single time thing, and plans should be regularly visited and updated regularly, checking to see whether your energy efficiency measures are actually having an impact and addressing them if they're starting to lose efficiency again. So now that we've looked at the framework, let's look into the key actions that for the first 2 steps that I mentioned. So for how to go about establishing an energy baseline and how do you go about benchmarking energy performance. So to establish an energy baseline, the best thing to do is first start gathering at least a year or 2 years worth of utility energy bill data. How much electricity, how much natural gas or propane that you're using. You can enter these into a spreadsheet or using some of those EPA tools that are publicly accessible, which will give you a clearer picture of your historical energy use. From there, if you inventory your major equipment like blowers, pumps, and mixers, if you track their runtime hours through SCADA or panel meters, that can help you estimate exactly how much energy each equipment is consuming. It's also helpful to link this data with process conditions like flow or DO or dissolved oxygen, since this can help you determine if high energy use is because of an equipment issue or maybe an operational change might be required to optimize your process. Once your baseline is set, the next step is again benchmarking. So by entering the data you collected into some of those EPA and DOE tools, you can compare how your system performs to other systems that have participated in those EPA programs, like EPA's Portfolio Manager. That's a good one that their Energy Star program or the EPA manages, and it provides a Energy Star score to every facility that participates. And I think they have over 1,000 facilities that have participated in the program, maybe more now. So there are a lot of facilities that you can benchmark your performance with. After that's complete, the major next step is to again conduct an energy audit. This is where you can actually dig deeper, figure out which what's driving energy use within your facility and where improvements can be made. So during an audit, it's recommended to do a physical walkthrough of your facility, check for any visible issues. This could include inspecting basins for diffuser fouling or uneven aeration patterns, which can force blowers to work harder. It's also important to check for any air leaks within aeration piping or valves, because even small leaks can add up to major wasted energy over time, especially if blowers are running 24/7. You should also look into your SCADA data to spot any efficient patterns for, if your blowers are running at 100% output continuously, that's a sign that, process optimization may be beneficial. Audits should also check for operational parameters like dissolved oxygen set points to make sure they aren't necessarily high. And, you can also review pump time logs to confirm pumps aren't, being cycled excessively, or, if they're oversized, maybe undersizing them might be beneficial. Even stuff like HVAC systems or like lighting within your facility, how it's being used can increase energy use within your facility as well. So once an audit is complete, the next step is to identify and prioritize those energy efficiency projects. So this can include looking at both simple operational adjustments like whether lowering lowering DO set points or optimizing pump schedules or cleaning diffusers. That could be simple to do. That can be implemented within a week. Or if it's a larger capital project like blower replacement or adding equipment like DFTs, that might be lower in the priority list because that could take time, it requires capital, and needs a little bit more expertise to implement or to actually implement it within your facility. Aeration improvements should typically be considered first because they're usually, again, the biggest opportunity to save energy for wastewater treatment plants. So I would, definitely start there. And it's always essential to involve your O&M staff or operations staff within this energy efficiency or energy benchmarking process or energy auditing process, because they're the ones that really know the system. They usually are working with those equipment day to day. They probably know where they might be hearing some air leaks or some unexpected vibrations within your certain equipment that might be able to help you identify areas to improve first. After the audit's complete, the next step is to implement those O&M improvements. So what are some of these examples? So for aeration, again, that's typically the largest energy consumer. It should be the utility's priority to optimize energy use there. What can you do? Small adjustments like reducing DO set points can again can have a major impact. Rotating aeration basins or zones based on flow and loading can also prevent over aeration and optimize how aeration is done to reduce wasted energy. And simple things like cleaning diffusers regularly can help maintain oxygen transfer efficiency, which do keep blowers from running excessively harder than necessary. Pumping is another energy user. So how do you go about optimizing that? You can install or calibrate VFDs better to ensure pumps are operating at the speeds that they are actually needed in. So rather than running them at full time, adjusting pump on and off levels can reduce short cycling, which does save energy and equipment wear. Using lower energy pumps can also, again, be beneficial. Even shifting pumping to off-peak times where possible can cut electrical demand as well. And during an audit, if you find that some impellers are clogged or some components are worn, those should be addressed and replaced. For process control, using SCADA more effectively by looking at trends and addressing alarms or alerts can help optimize runtimes and again avoid unnecessary equipment use, and helps optimize factors like solid retention times. Can also reduce aeration demand while meeting compliance or NPDES compliance. Finally, don't also ignore facility-wide improvements. These are often the low-hanging fruit. Upgrading to efficient lighting, fixing leaks in compressed air systems, managing HVAC usage so they're not running 24/7, or ensuring doors are closed in your blower rooms can improve. Even if it's little, can help improve energy efficiency. Or so once operational equipment improvements have been implemented, the next step is to again track and measure those performance. This is where utilities can actually see where the impacts of those energy savings. Um, a good starting point would be again monitoring for metrics like kilowatt hours per million gallon treated each month, and posting the information, or making sure operators are seeing that information so they actually know that their processes are actually their operational changes are having an impact on energy efficiency, and it can help drive operatives to work more um, to work harder to aim for higher energy efficiency goals. SCADA data also is very beneficial for this. Excuse me. Reviewing SCADA data trends can help staff confirm that process improvements again are having an impact, and helps identify stuff like seasonal changes. Since colder temperatures often increase oxygen demand for blower energy, so linking that maintenance activities to some of those external factors can help you again um, see the real value of the energy efficiency project and the real impacts of how well they're doing. And the final step is to review and update your energy management plan. So again, this should be a continuous process. Um, Hold regular meetings to talk about energy efficiency. If someone notices that some equipment is working harder than usual, this will be a time for operators to voice that information. Update your standard operating your SOPs to again include energy efficient practices. So again, including small steps like making sure everyone's checking for air leaks as a part of a routine inspection can have a uh, significant impact on energy efficiency goals. Since I mentioned energy units like kilowatt hours, I just wanted to quickly go over some key math formulas that you can use to start using that you can start using to calculate some of those energy metrics that might be helpful for you if you're going through the benchmarking process or the auditing process. So these are the very basic ones. There are a lot more out there, but I just wanted to highlight some of the information since this is an operator focused webinar. So the first formula I have on here is operational cost per million gallons treated. So this is a straightforward calculation where you can take your total electric bill for the month, divide it by the total million gallons treated, and this basically gives you the cost per treated wastewater value that can help you track operational change impacts from what you're spending over time. The second is flow-based energy intensity, which is one of the more commonly used benchmarking metrics. It's calculated by dividing total kilowatt hours used in a month by the million gallons treated in that specific month. That gives you the kilowatt hours per million gallons treated, which you can use to compare performance month to month across different facilities, or whenever you're benchmarking, or just to have that information. Another useful formula is the load-based energy intensity, which looks at energy use relative to um, process data like or energy use relative to pounds of BOD removed. So this can help you distinguish between higher energy use caused by increased treatment demand versus inefficiencies like over aeration. And to calculate this, you basically just divide the blower energy by the pounds of BOD removed. And the last one featured on here is pumping efficiency, which is especially useful for lift stations. You basically calculate this by dividing the pump's kilowatt hours by the total million gallons pumped. If pumps don't have submeters, you can estimate energy use using motor horsepower, or the rated power, using a standard conversion factor and by knowing the runtime hours. So tracking those pumping energy use or pumping intensity regularly can help out determining whether pumps might be wearing out fast or maybe running inefficiently. Again, there are a lot more formulas out there, but at least these are some of those formulas that you would need to know to start calculating some of the metrics you need for energy management. So now that we've covered some of those useful formulas and the steps to develop an energy management plan, I just wanted to quickly go over some other uh, focusing on certain processes and highlighting some of those energy conservation strategies that you can implement. So I broke these down into the three categories, or I'll be looking at activated sludge aeration, solid handling, and pumping. But for each of those, I broke what strategies you can do into three categories. O&M, which focuses on those low to no cost strategies, equipment and control upgrades. So these are a little bit more expensive. What kind of equipment investments can I do to help improve with certain processes? And advanced optimization, which is usually a lot more long-term capital investment projects. So for aeration and activated sludge optimization, starting with O&M, one of the most impactful actions you can take is, again, setting DO targets to minimum safe levels that still complies with permit requirements. This helps avoid the common issue of running blowers manually or keeping DO levels unnecessarily high. And regularly calibrating DO probes as well, ideally on a weekly basis, can ensure compliance and avoid and can enhance treatment efficiency. Establishing a routine diffuser cleaning schedule is another simple but effective practice that maintains good OTE. Adjusting solid retention time can also help prevent excessive oxygen demand, and inspecting aeration piping and valves for leaks can prevent blowers from working harder than needed. And again, SCADA monitoring for SCADA trends can help operators identify periods of over aeration or maybe inefficient DO control. For more equipment focused upgrades, installing flow meters or pressure sensors can give blowers better, real-time feedback data, real-time data on oxygen demand, which can help you adjust your process control more efficiently. Retrofitting existing blowers with VFDs or switching to um, right-sized blowers, especially if you have older, larger blowers, can help reduce energy use, especially during low flow periods. And upgrade to fine bubble diffusers, which I'm assuming a lot more facilities have converted from coarse bubble to fine bubble diffusers by now. But if you haven't, fine bubble diffusers can significantly improve OTE, oxygen transfer efficiency, allowing blowers to run at lower energy. Finally, some facilities can also benefit from advanced optimization strategies. So one approach is, implementing ammonia-based aeration control, which basically allows blowers to operate only when ammonia levels indicate oxygen is needed. Another strategy is alternating between aerobic and anoxic zones using intermittent aeration or swing zones, which can improve nutrient removal while reducing aeration demand. And conducting OTE analysis can also determine whether diffusers or blowers are losing performance over time. But these are, again, they take a little bit longer to do these kind of audits. If you're doing these process changes, you might have to, adjust your plant whenever your plant is running these systems, so you can actually alternate those blower locations. And if you're implementing more sensors, that also will take up capital as well as time to implement. So I would again definitely start with some of those lower no cost options and then move on from there to see if more costly upgrades are necessary. On the pumping side, similarly, starting with the O&M, what are some of the low cost, no cost upgrades they can wastewater utilities can do? A simple strategy is to just adjust the wet well levels to reduce pump start time and short cycling, which can extend a pump's life. It's also important to ensure discharge valves even are completely open. This might be a little bit, it might not be seeing this issue that much, but if your discharge valve aren't fully open, it can, or if it's partially closed, that can cause unnecessary head loss and force pumps to work harder. Regular maintenance like cleaning impellers, strainers, pump intakes can also help, restore flow, reduce energy use, and simply monitor for pump curves to compare flow with actual design flow can help, identify whether there's some inefficiency. For equipment upgrade, similar to the aeration side, adding VFDs is a big improvement. Helps pump motors adjust their speed to match actual flow coming into the facility, which can especially be helpful during low flow periods. Trimming oversized impellers can reduce excess head and improving efficiency without replacing the entire pump. And replacing older pumps with more higher efficient ones is another good strategy, a little bit more costly. For more advanced strategies, utilities can consider implementing load shifting. So this is where you run larger pumps during off-peak electricity hours and using more energy efficiency pumps when electricity rates are a little bit higher. This again reduces your energy costs overall while maintaining your current equipment. Optimizing parallel pumping systems so smaller pumps handle low flows before larger pumps can also help reduce energy use. SCADA can assist with these complex processes, so implementing SCADA is another opportunity to improve pumping efficiency as well. Solid processing is another significant energy user. How can you improve those? Well, for the low cost, no cost strategies, keeping thickeners and presses clean prevents, blinding, while optimizing polymer dose can prevent unnecessary runtime. So definitely make sure your solid processing equipment is being cleaned routinely. Maximizing sludge thickness is another important step since it reduces overall volume that needs to be pumped. Heated or digested. The thicker the sludge, less volume has to be pumped and heated and heated, reducing overall energy use. So making sure those processes are resulting in the correct solid processing is important. If you're looking for equipment upgrades, flow meters or solids concentration sensors can help equipment or help control equipment better or more precisely using real-time solids data. Installing VFDs on thickeners and dewatering equipment can adjust speed based on sludge consistency, reducing energy use and stress on the equipment. And upgrading to energy efficiency polymer equipment can also improve mixing and activation. So for more advanced optimization, you can also consider recovering biogas to heat or to heat facilities or heat digesters, or to uh, reuse that for to generate electricity on site. Installing heat exchangers can also capture thermal energy from treated effluent, again to help preheat digesters. And even solids processing audits can also identify opportunities to improve thickening processes or dewatering performance. And very quickly, facility-based optimization. These are fairly self-explanatory, but turning off lights and ventilation in areas where there's no, occupants, it can reduce energy use. Cleaning HVAC filters, that makes sure that your HVAC equipment is maintaining good airflow. Inspecting for any leaks, looking for vibrations within motors, ensuring doors, dampers, and vents are closed. In heating and cooling rooms, like where your blowers might be, can help reduce energy loss. Replacing aging fluorescent light bulbs with higher efficient LEDs, using occupancy sensors in lower traffic areas to ensure lights are turning off, maybe even temperature controlled sensors to make sure that if there's no one there, temperature regulation doesn't need to be necessary, can help improve energy efficiency. And and right sizing or replacing over capacity air compressors to reduce idle energy waste, recovering heat from blowers can all help improve your energy efficiency for building facility managing your building facility. And very quickly, there are renewable energy options out there for wastewater utilities as well. This might be more relevant for bigger systems than smaller systems, since these kind of upgrades do require higher upfront costs. But just want to quickly highlight some of those renewable energy opportunities. Generating on-site electricity and recovering heat from digester building is, again, I mentioned it, but using combined heat and power systems to do that is a highly energy efficient upgrade that utilities can implement. Solar is another increasingly common option that can help offset daytime energy demands. Some facility with significant elevation drop at their outfalls can also consider installing micro hydro turbines that can capture energy from treated effluent leaves their facility. For more on the resource recovery and co-digestion side, programs these kind of programs can help facilities um, uh, implement strategies or programs like that accept food waste or fats, oil, and grease. I know there are case studies of several facilities that have fog accepting programs where a lot of fog producers can haul that waste to the wastewater utility, and the wastewater utility can then add that during co-digestion to improve biogas production. And some utilities are also beginning to explore biosolids gasification, which converts sludge into syngas or biochar, which reduces energy use as well, or reduces disposal volumes while producing beneficial byproducts that can be reused. And for improving resilience, battery energy storage systems are becoming a lot more popular for utilities that can really help save energy, store energy produced from solar or combined heat processes, and helps offset energy use during high demand. And if there's a blackout, having this off-grid microgrid can also make sure your system is running and isn't being impacted by energy outage situations. Now, before moving on to highlighting some of those resources that covered the information I covered, I did quickly want to go over some of those federal, national, and state programs that are available to help utilities with some of these energy efficiency programs. For on the technical assistance side, DOE's On-Site Energy Technical Assistant Partnership, they provide no-cost support for higher level energy projects like CHP battery integration. They can help assess whether that's feasible and help guide utilities through the early planning stage. EPA also just recently released a Rural Water TA program, which offers technical assistance to help utilities reduce inefficiencies, optimize aerations. they could be a great start to get some guidance on some of these projects started. National Rural Water Association also runs the energy efficiency program. I believe they have a bunch of states that also state specific in our National Rural Water office that have this program as well. But they offer no cost energy audits for small and rural systems. So if you're a more rural system and looking for energy auditing assistance, definitely check out NRWA's program. RCAP also provides a range of technical assistance, including energy efficiency planning as well as capacity development. So if you're in the Illinois, Indiana region, Great Lakes RCAP will be the RCAP regional office. You will want to reach out to them to get technical assistance on maybe starting an energy efficiency project. On the funding side, DOE's state energy program offers grants to support renewable energy and resilience projects. For a lot of these municipalities, DOE also has the Bioenergy Technology Office, which also offers funding opportunities related to more um, advanced like biogas, co-digestion, biosolids related energy projects. For more rural communities, USDA's Rural Energy for America program offers grants and loans for renewable energy systems like solar and biogas. You can also consider state SRF programs. Illinois EPA and Indiana Finance Authority offers the Green Project Reserve initiatives for more energy efficient upgrade related projects, which you can use to implement stuff like VFDs or implement process improvements. Illinois EPA also offers the Resilient Energy for Wastewater Infrastructure grants, which again, I think I quickly mentioned it in the news article earlier, but they do offer funding for solar projects and battery storage projects. Indiana also participates in the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant programs, which provides funding to local governments for energy planning and facility upgrades. So any of these options, I would definitely check out. If you're looking for technical assistance, definitely check out these programs. If you're looking for fundings, this might be a good start. If you're from states outside of Illinois, Indiana, definitely check with your state agency, privacy agency, see what kind of energy efficiency programs or funding opportunities might be available from your state. For Illinois specific operators, I did include a link on the very bottom, which was developed by CDEC, which is part of the University of Illinois, but they have a great page on specific energy efficiency funding opportunities within Illinois. So I definitely recommend checking out that link for a more comprehensive list. So now I'll move on to highlight some of the various publicly accessible resources that utilities can use to improve their energy efficiency. I know we're kind of running out of time, so I'll try to go through these a little bit quicker. But starting off, the first resource on this slide is EPA's Ensuring a Sustainable Future and Energy Management Guidebook. It's a 113-page guide that outlines the structured framework to an energy management plan. It's great for if you're starting to improve, if wanting to improve energy efficiency and energy performance. They do base their framework against on the Plan, Do, Check, Act model. So it covers some of the similar information I highlighted before. But the cool thing about this guide is it's broken into multiple modules. So utilities can work through at their own pace, whether they're just beginning to track energy data or they're ready to fully implement energy benchmarking or energy improvement programs. It also includes real world case studies, highlighting successful programs. On the slide, I have one highlighted from the Essex Junction wastewater facility in Vermont, which is highlighted on the guide itself. But they use the guide's approach to implement small-scale methane-fueled microturbines, which help them generate electricity on site and recover waste heat. So this is an example of a small system that was able to improve energy efficiency using this structured framework. Focus on Energy, which is a Wisconsin-based organization to help utilities reduce energy usage, also has a pretty comprehensive guide that covers similar information on how to develop an energy management program. Their guide includes similarly, it's 182 page and it's fairly long, but it includes best practices for various energy intensive processes like aeration, pumping, biosolids management, and they do provide typical energy saving estimates and payback periods for some of those energy efficiency measures that are highlighted. Um, the guide also outlines considerations like productivity impacts during implementation, what equipment will be installed for certain energy efficiency measures, and limitations that utilities should be aware of. So if you're considering various measures, this is a great guide to see the expected outcomes, expected costs, and some of those issues utilities might run into when trying to implement. Another helpful resource is Hawaii Energy's Water and Wastewater Energy Management Best Practices Handbook. It's another 118-page lengthy handbook or guide or hands-on guide that helps utilities especially utilities operating in higher energy cost regions like Hawaii, where structured energy planning can show how structured energy planning can help reduce the energy use of those higher energy usage facilities. This handbook expands on the EPA's best practices and highlights a 10-step framework that includes additional steps like dedicated assessments of renewable energy options, because especially for higher energy systems, renewable energy is a great solution for them. But it includes more than 50 standalone best practices, both for water and wastewater and general for both utilities, energy conservation measures that can be implemented. And again, it highlights some of those expected costs, best practices for implementing certain energy efficiency measures, how to go about energy monitoring, how to best optimize pump systems, just a bunch of great best practices, along with how much information on how much it'll cost, expected outcomes, payback period, and just a lot more. So it's another great resource to again compare some of those energy conservation measures. Uh, New York also has a wastewater energy management best practices handbook. This is similar to the Hawaii one. Again, it mentions some of those best practices. Um, Utilities can implement to improve energy efficiency. Includes detailed standalone best practice tables, similar to the Hawaii one, but it mentions for certain measures what are the expected costs, what are the best practices, what are the challenges utilities might face, and it also outlines a method to evaluate the cost effectiveness using simple payback and life cycle cost analysis. So if you're looking to find a little bit more information on how to calculate those formulas, this is a great guide to find a little bit more information on. And yeah, all of these, they just highlight those best practices that water and wastewater utilities can start implementing to improve energy efficiency. So those are great resources to start off if you just don't have the baseline information of where you might want to start. Now focusing on more of the individual steps. So for energy benchmarking, if you're ready to benchmark, but you're not really sure, what are the benefits and where to start off, CDAC has a great fact sheet. It's a 5-page fact sheet that explains why energy benchmarking is critical as a first step, as well as how it can identify energy efficiency opportunities by tracking facility performance over time. So it walks through how to develop a benchmarking using monthly bills, um, flow and BOD data, uh, what should be implemented, like factors like that, what other data should be implemented whenever operators are going through benchmarking, explains the difference between flow-based and load-based metrics, and how using both can provide a more complete understanding of process efficiency. So just a great tool to highlight some of those benchmarking, to get a better idea of what's necessary whenever you're doing energy benchmarking. Another useful resource is the energy for energy benchmarking is DOE's Energy Data Management Manual for water and wastewater treatment sector. So this is a 35-page manual. It's a little bit lengthier, but it highlights or it outlines how to develop a complete energy data management system, where focus on technical processes like collecting, analyzing, and tracking energy data. The guide also provides a clear overview of EPA and DOE's benchmarking tools, includes comparison tables that help operators to select the right benchmarking tool that they should be using, and also highlights how to use EPA's Energy Star Portfolio Manager, as well as EPA's energy assessment tools and DOE's performance indicator tool to compare how a utility compares to other utilities. And it really outlines the benchmarking process as well. Helps you identify what data you need, like the kilowatt per million gallons treated or per BOD removed. And it highlights how you can use a regression-based normalization to get a clear picture of how much energy is being used. So both of these are great for if you're studying energy benchmarking and you're not sure what data to look for, or what process to start with. So once you're ready to go through energy benchmarking, sorry, before I move on to that part, here are additional tools that I just highlighted that can help you with energy benchmarking. So there's 3 tools listed on here, 2 from EPA, 1 from UNC Chapel Hill, or the Finance Center network is. But very quickly, EPA's Energy Use Assessment Tool. This is a free Excel-based tool where operators can enter up to 5 years of electricity, natural gas, or just basic energy data, as well as operational data like flow BOD data. And a tool will automatically generate a comprehensive energy profile. So it's a great tool for utilities to start using and tracking some of the energy use data that can be used for benchmarking later on. Another option for tracking wastewater facility performance is the EPA's Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So this is a free web-based tool that allows utilities to benchmark both energy and water use, and it does generate and it creates core metrics like energy use intensity and Energy Star score, which ranges from 1 to 100, that can be used to compare your system to other similar size system or system that use similar processes to see how your facility compares to other facilities. So this would be good. First, you should use the energy use assessment tool to get a general idea of your energy uses. Then you can enter that information into the Energy Star Portfolio Manager to actually benchmark your energy use data. Then if you want a little bit more tool to start tracking energy use, you don't want these fancy graphs or metrics. UNC's Electric Baseline Builder for water utilities. This is just again a simple Excel tool where you can just put in energy bill data just to track per month how much energy is being used. That can help you optimize or that can help you identify months where there might be a lot more energy being used, or can just help you track whether there are certain months where energy use is significantly higher, which can help you again identify maybe certain processes used more during that specific month might be contributing to higher energy. So um, just for tracking energy, both the EPA Energy Use Assessment Tool and the Electric Baseline Builder is a great Excel tool to start using. And if you're ready to benchmark, the Energy Star Portfolio Manager is what you want to use. For additional energy assessment resources, so if you benchmarked and you're ready to implement energy efficiency measures, what tools are available to help you with that? So DOE has several tools. These are the last one is from Better Buildings. That's the DOE programs as well. So these are all essentially from DOE. But starting at the very top, the first one is the Energy Footprint Tool. So this can help you basically footprint how much energy is being used across your pumps, blowers, and buildings. If you don't have sub-metering, especially this is a great tool because it helps you calculate or generally estimate how much energy certain processes and certain equipment is using. If you do have energy sub-metering data and you know how much energy each equipment, each building might be using, then you can go on to the DOE's Measure tool. This is a free web-based assessment tool that can help you evaluate energy performance of certain systems like pumps, motors, using that energy data that you've collected, and helps you to assess impacts of you know how much energy efficiency would be gained from reducing aeration operating power. It just helps you calculate all those metric data, how much sludge, if you do that, how that would impact other processes like how much sludge would be developed. It's a great tool to just measure to see impacts, to see how much energy efficiency changing certain processes will achieve, as well as how might that impact other data within your process. So they do have a guide as well on how to use this tool, video on how to use this tool, and how to kind of evaluate the data on there. So definitely, if you're ready to compare and looking for energy efficiency, just to see how certain process changes might improve energy efficiency, this is a great tool to look at. And once you have implemented certain measures and you're ready to compare how much those energy efficiency measures are having an impact, if you use something like the DOE's energy footprint tool and you're tracking energy use, or as well as the EPA's energy assessment tool, you can input that data into DOE's energy performance indicator tool. They do have an Excel version, but they also have a web version where you can just upload a specific spreadsheet of energy use over time, and it will tell you how much impact it's having. And it does consider factors like flow data, BOD data, weather data to kind of normalize to give you an idea of the actual gains from those energy efficiency measures. So these are great tools to, again, compare those, evaluate energy efficiency measures, and track those impacts. If you're not sure, what measures to do, DOE has a bunch of measure planning workbooks, which are the Excel-based workbooks to help wastewater utilities evaluate some of those energy conservation strategies, like implementing fine diffuser aeration, implementing bypass recovery. How would you go about planning that? How much it'll cost to implement a project like that, and what are the operational impacts you can expect? Now, if you're unsure what kind of project your system might want to benefit from, the next couple of resources will kind of give you a guide, understanding of what other utilities have implemented past and some other energy efficiency strategies you can implement. So the first resource on this slide is a 3-page fact sheet from CDAC on no low-cost energy saving opportunities for wastewater treatment plants. Basically highlights simple operational or control-based adjustments that operators can implement quickly, like managing pump or building temperature settings or blower time clocks to improve aeration efficiency. Just highlights some of those day-to-day opportunities that utilities can implement to start seeing energy savings. For a little bit more comprehensive reading, DOE has a energy efficiency strategies for municipal wastewater treatment facilities. It's a report, it's a 25-page report detailing a comprehensive process energy audit that was conducted at a wastewater treatment plant in Colorado, but it shows how data was collected, what kind of major energy saving opportunities were considered, and then evaluates the impacts, how would update improving influent pump conditions, changing aeration equipment, maybe how to improve UV disinfection to reduce energy. It covers all those considerations, what was considered, and highlights the best practices that other utilities can implement to similar follow energy efficiency project timelines. EPA also has published a comprehensive guide on evaluating energy conservation measures at wastewater treatment systems. This is a much more long, comprehensive 222-page guide, but it provides detailed technical analysis of various energy saving opportunities, and it gives operators a clear idea of how each measure works, when it's the most cost effective, as well as process diagrams to help you understand some of those technical details, why implementing these energy conservation measures would have an impact on certain processes. It just gives you a good idea of those general idea of how those measures will work. And they do include case studies as well, highlighting one a smaller wastewater treatment plant, a 1.5 million gallons per day oxidation facility in Washington. It highlights how they adopted high efficiency aeration equipment, which had a major initial upfront cost, but and it was a part of their major expansion project. But they do have it highlights how their payback period is 33 years, but they've seen significant energy savings already. The Water Environmental Research Foundation, before they became the Water Research Foundation, they also published a 122-page guide or compendium on best practices or real-world case studies of reducing energy use at wastewater facilities. So if you're looking for other successful projects implemented at utilities, this is another guide that highlights some of those strategies wastewater utilities have implemented, some of those costs that you would expect from those energy efficiency strategies, as well as how much savings you expect, whether it produces greenhouse gases, and just additional great information on certain strategies. I also wanted to highlight some of the more recent, shorter resources that focus on specific processes. So, starting with aeration energy efficiency, DOE has several fact sheets, 3 that are focused on aeration, that highlights how to improve energy efficiency within aeration processes. One's on, why find bubble diffusers improve aeration. One is on how lowering aeration tank water levels impacts aeration efficiency, energy efficiency, as well as how does optimizing DO improves energy efficiency. So if you're not familiar with those, and if you want a quick fact sheet that highlights some of those calculations, formulas, as well as how those processes impact energy efficiency at aeration, definitely check out these fact sheets. They do contain a lot of great concise information. If you're looking for something more comprehensive, DOE also has a 75-slide presentation on aeration efficiency and optimization, which also covers the process for blower optimization. It highlights the how to match airflow to real process demand, how to minimize system pressure to save energy, and it provides a clear roadmap from going from manual to more advanced automation, specifically using VFDs, DO pacing, most open valve logics, and just how these can help operators better understand why the automation upgrades are beneficial for improving aeration. CDEC has done multiple webinars as well, highlighting energy efficiency recommendations. So here are 2 webinars focused on improving aeration efficiency at wastewater utilities. The first one is a 15-minute webinar on oxygen transfer efficiency. It highlights how mechanics of diffusers and aerators work, why bubble size and blower technology matters for aeration efficiency, and how it can directly impact utility costs. and it also outlines how to match oxygen supply with BOD loading and just a bunch of other operational considerations for improving aeration. The second webinar is a 55-minute webinar, and it's on wastewater advanced aeration control and energy management. So this is a little bit more, it provides a little deeper dive into the advanced aeration control strategies, um, moving from some of those simpler changing DO setbacks to more impacts of seeing how implementing ammonium-based aeration control or feed-forward cascade controls can impact um, energy use and reduce over aeration. Now moving on to pumping efficiency resources. The first one I have on here is another resource from CDAC, but for pumping efficiency. It's one of their 5-page case studies outlining how pump speed, friction losses, and system head can impact how much electricity pumps consume. It's uh, it highlights good strategies of improving pumping energy efficiency. Like, if you, whenever a second pump is activated, if you activate a second pump earlier, at 85% speed rather than 100% speed, that can actually lead to reduced system head and friction. It highlights simple strategies like that, and how it can have energy saving impacts by changing some of those processes. For a more comprehensive resource, DOE also has a 122-page guide on improving pumping system performance, which is designed to help operators, quickly identify the most common sources of energy waste in pumping system and how to improve those, go about improving energy efficiency there. It shows a bunch of different diagrams of motors, valves, blowers, and it kind of helps you identify how to best optimize energy efficiency using certain types of motors, blowers, and just a bunch of great information on how to improve pumping overall. Here are two EFCN webinar recordings that combine some of the information that we've covered today, and it's kind of geared more. It's an overall highlights some of the a bunch of information I covered, not just the specific strategies, but going through the energy management conservation process. Here are two EFCN webinars. One is on managing energy costs for small wastewater systems. One is on unlocking energy efficiency for small wastewater systems. They're both fairly recent. One is from 3 years ago. One is from within a year ago. But they both cover the unique challenges small systems, small wastewater systems face when trying to cut energy costs. It outlines some of those frameworks to follow to start improving energy efficiency, how to start energy benchmarking, and how to start considering energy conservation methods. And if you're looking for specific overview on how small systems can reduce energy use overall, the second webinar is a good one. It's an hour long, but it highlights typical high energy users within a small system. What exactly within a small system is using up a lot of energy? Is it a specific pump? Is it a specific motor? And then low cost tips for optimizing each of those systems. So it's really useful for understanding how simple operational shifts can impact, even for small systems, can have an impact on energy savings. So I would definitely recommend checking both of these out if you want a complete overview of energy efficiency, focusing on small systems. And very quickly, I wanted to highlight some of those renewable energy resources. So the first one I have on here is a 149-page guide from EPA on purchasing green power. So it highlights the opportunities for renewable energy at wastewater utilities, such as on-site generation like biogas, CHP systems, solar, and how you can go about purchasing or going through the acquisition process for getting the equipment needed for those renewable energy systems. So if you're considering these kind of systems, the guide will show you how to select, how to evaluate, and how to implement the most cost-effective renewable energy system into your utility operation. For those looking for a wastewater specific case study, DOE has this 2-page fact sheet highlighting how the Durham Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility in Oregon increased their renewable energy production through their fog co-digestion program, where they dedicated a fog receiving station and replaced their undersized CHP units to be able to take in 100,000 gallons of food service grease per week, which led to doubling their biogas production and tripling their energy generation. So again, it highlights how even for how CHP programs like that can result in significant energy savings. This one's a rare case because not every system is going to be near that much fog. But if you are a system that's around a lot of large or a lot more fog producers, this might be a great strategy to improve biogas production. For a deeper dive into CHP opportunities, EPA does have a 57-page guide that focuses on CHP. It's a report that highlights, how CHP is a reliable, cost-effective option for wastewater treatment plants, how much energy savings they can expect from implementing CHP, as well as case studies from systems using CHP to just get a better general idea of some of those process considerations and expected savings. MassDEP has a similar report evaluating how Massachusetts specific systems have implemented anaerobic digestion and combined heat power, and how those had how much energy efficiency impacts they've had, as well as again considerations on operations and process control. And finally, for solar, if you're considering solar, EPA has a great presentation. It's an 80-slide presentation by provides us a step-by-step process for planning and implementing solar projects. And if you're, again, more of a video-centric person, EFCN has a 1-hour webinar exploring how some of the specific energy challenges wastewater systems face and how solar energy can offset some of those energy challenges, and also highlight some of the financial incentives or pathways to being able to get solar projects implemented at your utility. So sorry, that was rushing a little bit towards the end, but there are a lot more resources out there, especially on energy from DOE, EFC, and other organizations. But now I'll move on to the demo portion of this presentation, highlighting how you can search for similar resources through our website. So again, our website URL is wateropera.org, and this is how the front page of the website looks like. There's no login required. You can just get on here and start using our website freely. I'll start off with showing a demo of the resource library or the documents library tool. So to access that page, you'll want to look at the resource library menu on the top. If you hover your cursor over that menu option, you should see a submenu pop up as shown on this slide. Within that menu, you'll see a document search and search for documents option. If you go ahead and click on either of those options, it will take you to our resource library page, which looks like this. I've also added a direct link to the page at the bottom of the slide, or the bottom of the slide. But once you get to this page, you should see this gray colored search module. There are 3 components to the search module that you can interact with. The first is the drop-down menu on the left, which says select. There's also a text keyword filter text box on the right, as well as the retrieve documents button on the bottom center. So on the left, if you click on the select drop-down menu, that's where you'll be able to see some of our main filters that can be used to populate our the search. If there are terms not in the within those filters, then you can use the keyword filter. And if you're ready to search, you can click on retrieve documents, and that will actually run the search. So this is what it looks like once you click on the select drop-down menu. So you'll see 4 different filter menus, I guess. One of them is category, which would be the 30 plus water and wastewater related categories that I showed earlier on the pie chart. So if you're looking for resources in a specific category like asset management, you can click on category and choose that and run the search. The second filter type is type. So this is where you can use to search for a specific type of resource. So if you only wanted to search for fact sheets or manual, or if you're looking for a more video-centric resource, you could choose that specific resource type filter there. The third is the state filter. So if you want to find a state-focused resource like case studies that are happening in a certain state or regulations from a certain state, you can use a state filter, choose the respective state, and get resources highlighting information from that specific state. And the last one is host, which is the organization that developed or is hosting a resource. And once you select the host, you should be able to see the list of organizations that have resources that we have cataloged resources from. Once those filters are selected, then you can click on again, retrieve documents, and it will populate the library. So let's say we want to search for energy efficiency resources. We can first try using the category filter and selecting one of the management terms. So if you select category, under the select drop-down menu, you will see a new drop-down menu pop up under it with a list of the 30 water and wastewater related categories. And as shown on the screenshot, if you scroll through the list, you will eventually find asset management as an option. And once you do, you can then click on that category, which will highlight that the selection you selected has been selected. And then if you click on retrieve documents, it will actually run the search query and give you the results under the search module. So in this case, for asset management, we have close to 3,800 records, which is way too much to go through. In this case, it'll be best to add another filter or even go to the keyword filter and maybe type in more specific term like energy efficiency. But just for the sake of demoing, let's say we wanted to refine the search using additional filters. If you look at the very top, you should see that there is now an option to add a second filter. In this case, let's say we wanted to find asset management resources from DOE because we know that DOE has a lot of energy efficiency related resources. In that case, we want to choose select again, choose host from the list, which will then give you a list of all the host organizations that have asset management related resource. And from there, if you select US DOE, run the retrieve documents again, it will refine your search even more. So now we have a total record of 50 documents from DOE related to the asset management. So 50 might be a little bit much, but you can start flipping through the different search result pages just to get an idea of what results are out there. But you can also add a third filter. You can see that there's a third drop-down menu now, and to refine our search even more. So in this case, let's say we want to actually look for video resource from DOE. In that case, we can now add type as a third filter, choose video as the resource type, and then click on retrieve documents again, which will refine our search results to just one, which again makes our life easier because there is only one, but usually there are a lot more search results that you would have to go through. But how would you decide a resource is worth checking? Well, if you look at the search results, for every result, we do include a title of the resource, which is embedded with the clickable link to access the resource. A summary of the resource, which outlines, why or how the resource is helpful for operators, or any other useful information that would make a resource unique or informative. We are hoping that these summaries are sufficient to help you understand what the resource is about and whether that's something you want to access. We also include a link to the repository or the page where we found the resource, since a lot of times you can find some similar information or other additional resource covering similar topics on repository pages. So if this was a resource you were interested in, you can click on the title and it will open the resource in a separate window, just like on this screenshot. I did want to note that links, and it does take you, in this case, to YouTube, but if this was hosted on DOE specific page, we do try to again link you back to the host organization webpage. Again, give them credit. We don't want to host anything ourselves. We're again just linking you to the organization's website where the resource is located. I do want to note that links can go dead. So if you do come across a dead link while using our resource library tool and you really are interested in that resource, definitely reach out to us. We usually do keep an archive or backup copy, or we can help you reach out to the host organization to try to get that link fixed, or to see if they have a more updated document resource that would be relevant for you. I also mentioned that we do have a nationwide events calendar tool where operators can use to search for trading opportunities, operators to use. So I did quickly want to give a demo of that as well. So once again, this is our homepage. You can access our calendar page by selecting the event calendar option on the menu to the top, on the top, as highlighted in the red box. If you click on that, it will take you to the event calendar page where you should see a similar gray colored search module, but with an empty calendar on the bottom. This search module also has similar interactive capabilities. So you should see the select drop-down menu where you should be able to select the 4 filters as similar to the document side. And there also is a keyword text box where you can enter certain keywords that might not be covered within the filters available. You can populate the calendar by selecting any of the appropriate filters. So again, we have category, which would be the wastewater related topics. Type, which would be the event type in this case. So are you looking for a training, maybe a webinar, a specific conference, or more of a multi-day conference? You can also search by state, which is the state where the event takes place in, or a state where training credits are approved in, and sponsor, which is the organization's sponsoring the event. In general, we hear that most operators use the state filter since they only care about what events are approved in their state, but it's definitely worth adding multiple filters to find the training event that fits your specific needs. So for this demo, since we're in Illinois, let's say we're looking for what events are currently available or approved for Illinois operators. Let's select the state filter, which will then give you the list of states to select from. And once you select Illinois from the list, the calendar will automatically populate results, which looks like this. So this screenshot is currently only showing some of the results from the month of March, but you can tell that there's a lot of training opportunities out there. Some of the names are shortened because there are multiple. That would happen when there's multiple training opportunities within a certain day. But if you hover your cursor over the organization name, it will give you the full a pop-up of a full event name, just to give you an idea of what kind of training opportunities are currently out there. Um, but from there, since there are a lot more trainings than we thought, we can add another filter to refine our search a little bit more. So I just switched to the month of April, but let's say we're looking for more wastewater treatment related trainings that are approved or that are either happening in Illinois or approved for Illinois operators. We can then add a second filter category, choose wastewater treatment from that list, and which will automatically update the calendar results as well. There is also an option to clear filters if you want to reset your search, or to view lists, to view all the results as a list view rather than the calendar view, since switching between calendar and month can be annoying. But if you click on the view list, it will open up another pop-up with all the training on a single window, full name. It'll also give you additional information like what city it might be in, as well as what state the event might be taking place in. So I have one highlighted here that's happening in April 16th from the Central States Water Environment Association, from small plants to big challenges, 2026 nutrient removal controls and evolving regulations in medicine. So this might be a training event that sounds like it's kind of related to the topics we covered today. Um, so this might be a training you might be interested in. If so, you can click on the link and it will, or the event name, and it will bring you a pop-up with additional information like date, time, location, link to register, what's covered in the details, contact information, costs to register, as well as CU information. So this is an event where it I was if it was in Illinois, that would have been great. But since Central States does training in 3 different states, Illinois, Wisconsin, or in Missouri and Wisconsin, this one will be specifically taking place in Wisconsin, but it is an event that's approved in all 3 states, and you can see that in the continuing education section on the bottom. And if you want to search for online training specifically, like webinars, there's been a lot more webinars as online training opportunities since COVID happened. So it's definitely worth checking out. In which case, you can use the type filter, so event type, choose webinar, live online trainings, which will give you a boatload of online training opportunities. But just to see what is available out there, I did throw energy management into the keyword, and we do see that that narrows your search results down a lot. For the month of April, there are 3 webinars on energy management. I have one highlighted here that's tomorrow, but it's hosted by University of U of I Chicago, which is our sister campus. But they are having a webinar on biomethane projects within Illinois and highlighting some of the resources out there for helping those people out. So if you're a wastewater utility in Illinois that's considering biomethane recovery, this might be a free webinar that you might be interested in registering. But this can you can also search for other opportunities using similar keywords, similar search filters as well. So, but if you do have trouble finding certain events, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to find you training events that might fit your search criteria. Maybe you're looking for CEUs, maybe you don't care about CEUs, but you're looking for free events. We'll try to help you find events that will fit your needs. And then to finish this presentation off, I wanted to briefly go over some of the additional resources we offer. So we do have a blog page as well, where we focus on recent news, single topics single topics, and highlight resources that are developed by other organizations, similar to how we did in this webinar. So if you're looking for recent news, resources on a certain topic, our blog post can give you an idea of what information you can find. On the right screenshot, I have one of our more recent blog posts on AI technologies and how they're being developed for optimizing water and wastewater processes. So, we do try to keep up to date with some of those timely information as well. We also have 3 newsletters that we send out monthly or bi-weekly electronically through this program. The first one is our most popular standard water operator bi-weekly newsletter, which highlights some of the, again, recent news that's happening, like new funding opportunities, new technical assistance opportunities, upcoming free webinars, as well as some of the resources found in our library. So if you're trying to stay up to date with industry news, I would definitely recommend signing up for our water operator newsletter. But we also have a Innovations for Small Systems newsletter, which is a monthly newsletter where we highlight more recent news on like pilot studies, innovations, research and publications that highlight some of the advanced innovative treatment processes, which may not have been implemented widely yet, but is still in the research phase. Just trying to highlight some of those upcoming technologies that utilities might be want to be aware of. And we also have the tribal newsletter where we try to highlight information more specific for tribal utility operators. But you can get to our newsletter page through our menu bar at the top, and you can also sign up for any of their newsletter and see our past archives on that page. I also wanted to touch on our self-paced classes that we offer. So we do offer, we're not a training provider, but we do offer several self-paced trainings. One is our groundwater well care class, which is our most popular class. It is more water-centric, but it is free, it is online, and it's self-paced, and it'll help operators understand how to maintain and take care of their groundwater systems, or groundwater wells specifically. Uh, this is the only training that we offer that is pre-approved to provide training hours in multiple states, including Illinois and Indiana. We also have two additional self-paced trainings, one that we developed with Mass DEP, one on cybersecurity and one on source water protection. Both are great. Both cover a lot of great information, especially our cybersecurity one. That's been we've received a lot of great reviews on that one. So if you're considering cybersecurity practices, don't know where to start, definitely check out our self-paced cybersecurity training. So that concludes the presentation for today. If you do get a chance to use wateropera.org and again have any questions, please feel free to contact me or my supervisor, Steve Wilson. Our emails are on here. And if you want a copy of this presentation, again, email us at info@wateropera.org or email me directly at tertiary1@illinois.edu, and I'll be more than happy to share this slide deck since there are a lot of links, text that we covered. So definitely feel free to reach out to me for a copy. Um, and at this point, I guess if there are any questions, I would like to address those. Jennifer, do we have any questions from the audience?
We have one so far. Can we get operator CEUs for this webinar?
Ah, yes. So just like I mentioned at the very start, we are pre-approved for 1.5 wastewater hours in Illinois and Indiana. So those states we can help you go through the process of getting those credits. But for other states, we have not seeked pre-approval. Again, we just don't have the manpower to do that. But if you want a certificate attendance, if you didn't say so during the whenever you registered, please email us and we'll be more than happy to give you a certificate and help you complete any other paperwork that might be necessary to help you get credits for attending this webinar.
Yep, and I'll be distributing the certificates tomorrow for everyone who elected to receive one when they registered.
Perfect. Thanks for the update, Jennifer. I guess since we're over time now, if you do have any other questions, again, feel free to email me later on. But thank you for your time, and hopefully this was an informative webinar. Hopefully you learned a lot more about energy efficiency measures. But again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you find a lot more information will help you connect you with the additional information that are out there readily available. So thank you for your time, and hope you all have a nice rest of the day. Thank you so much.